when it first happened on Tuesday night, I genuinely believe that it was coincidental. Since then, we have heard political personnel got involved. We have heard persons, players got involved, and the wider public got involved about the light out in Guyana. Persons are calling for transparency. This morning, however, that's not the most shocking thing in my mind when it comes to transparency. The umpires in the region, yes, the umpires in the region are calling for transparency. Can you actually believe that umpires, who we have always asked for transparency, are now themselves calling for transparency? The West Indies women cricket squad that was selected for the Cricket World Cup will play their first match tomorrow. And we are calling for transparency on how that squad was selected. We are going to back that squad. We are going to support that squad. But there must be transparency. And if the team does not win the World Cup, which is almost a miracle for them to win, Sean Diaz must go. He probably should even go before the World Cup ends. It is left to be seen what happened. This morning, I have invited Basil Butcher, the son of the former great West Indies batsman Basil Butcher Sr., who have scored 6 half-centuries plus score in his first 6 test match, surpassed recently by Mendes of Sri Lanka. I have also have Juna Codlin here, the dynamic and controversial Juna Codlin, who was one of the very first co-hosts on this show way back in 2021. Hello, gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Uh, Good morning, Carlton. Good morning, Junior. Good morning to your viewers. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Morning, Mr. Brown, and morning to Mr. Butcher, and good morning to the viewers all over the world. It's an honor to be back here again.
Yeah.
Thank you. One quick thing, Mr. Junior. Mr. Butcher did. I is Basil, right? the Mr. is my father. I'm just Basil.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Now, gentlemen, let's start. We have 3 issues to get into this morning, and they can go very, very deep. Let's start with the situation with the umpires. And so RJR News, this was first reported on September 12th. And effectively from Tuesday, the decision would have been made. As you know, the year starts for the West Indies on the 1st of October. And that's why you see those players' contract came out yesterday, because the year starts on the 1st of October. But from September 12th, RJR News was reporting that there's a call for transparency this evening from the president of the Jamaica Cricket Association, Hathal Hamilton, given the imminent removal of Patrick Gustard from the international umpires panel. For the West Indies, Gustard, Barbadians Gregory Brathwaite and Leslie Reefer, as well as Guyanese Nigel Duguids, are the officials on the list. However, based on Radio Jamaican sports sources, Jamaican Gustard and Duguid from Guyana are in line to be removed from the panel next year. The contract period ends on September 30 with the new panel to be named. Why should there be a call for transparency, Basil? Isn't this the purview of Cricket West Indies?
Yeah, I don't think there is a need. There is an objective analysis that's used to grade umpires. And I don't think this is a West Indies thing per se. This is ICC. And I will have to be corrected if that's not so.
Just for clarity, there is a international panel where we are all full members country. Our member is allowed to appoint 4 umpires to that international panel. And from that international panel, then the ICC select their elite umpires.
Okay.
So Joel Wilson is the one West Indies umpire on that elite panel. But Cricket West Indies now can select 4 umpires for international games like T20, standby in Test match, and one of them in ODI cricket.
Okay, well, now that you've clarified that, I still think what they have to tell us, one, if the transparency means you have to have tell us what is the process. That's all we need to know. The what analysis, assessment, how you'd go about doing it to grade your umpires as to whether they're gonna be on the international panel. Because these umpires, because I went and I checked, these would be the umpires. Like when we have home series, these would be guys who would be fourth umpires and things like that. In ODI and so on, they would play the role sometimes as TV umpires or even play the role as the other umpire. And obviously in T20 International, they would be the 2 guys because it's usually just the local umpires do the T20 International. So you would be choosing from this group to officiate those matches. So you have to have some kind of evaluation system to why you would remove people from the panel. And we would like to know what that is.
Juna, I know you and Patrick Gustard would maybe very close. What is your view on this decision to remove these 2 umpires from the panel?
Once again, good morning to yourself and Butcher Jr. and also to the viewers all over the world. I and Mr. Patrick have no form of relations, but on the matter of principle, really, is that reasons have to be given for decisions that are made, and throughout the skerrick and shallow administration of Cricket West Indies over the last 5 to 6 years, we have seen these decisions are being made without any great clarity behind them. How can you remove an umpire without giving a clear reason why you are making these changes? And there are several changes that are being made in Cricket West Indies that are questionable. Cricket West Indies is a full-time and one of the longest serving member of the ICC. They carry a level of weight other from India, Australia, and England. Apart from South Africa, they are the next strongest member of the ICC. And for them to target we have no problem with the smaller islands people being given an opportunity, but Shalom must understand that he needs Jamaica to be re-elected president come March, and this will be a sticking point in this negotiation when election time come, because we believe that this man is one of the best umpires in the region. And if you would put out a poll on your platform, then you will prove that it's the truth. And for him to be booted out once these information becomes available to us, and to be replaced by a lesser umpire, there are going to be more questions. So on the matter of not knowing all the information so far, but on the surface of it, it doesn't look well at all. And it reflects on the administration that Dr. Shallow leads.
Thank you very much, Juna. Basil, what I am gathering from the grapevine is that the 2 umpires that are coming off, Nigel Duguid and Patrick Gustard, will be replaced by an umpire from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In other words, the persons are saying that umpires will be replaced by someone from the Windward Islands. I think it's Tucket. I don't want to call the name, but I've heard that the umpire will be replaced from the Windward Islands, which of course is the home territory of Cricket West Indies president. and that the next umpire that will replace the two is the son of the vice president of Cricket West Indies. I want to make this clear. I personally believe that if I'm in a position of influence, I am going to do everything that influence allows me to improve my children. So if the rumor is true that it's the son of the vice president of Cricket West Indies that will be one of those umpires that will be added to the list, that is something that I would do, Basil. As a father, that is something that I would do. However, I know that is just my opinion. The other concern that I am hearing is that Gregory Brathwaite, who is 56 years old, and if you should ask anyone in Caribbean cricket circles, from what we have seen, is that Gregory Brathwaite would have made more mistakes than any other umpire on that panel. Is it that because he gets more match than the others? For persons are saying that Patrick Gustard, for example, and I'm in Jamaica, I'm going to hear a lot about Patrick Gustard. Persons are saying that Gustard never got a standby test and he never got a one-day international for all the time that he was on the panel. And they are wondering, how do you remove someone like that? And if you are watching the CPL, Basil, no one even know Patrick Gustard. And the simple reason why they do not know Patrick Gustard, Basil, is that because he doesn't make mistakes or he doesn't make many, so the name doesn't stick. Basil, your reaction to what I just said? Or
the president's son is one of the better umpires. So I have no problem with that. I've seen him for a few years.
The vice president.
The vice president, sorry, is not. He is a pretty good umpire. So I have no quarrels with that. The guy from St. Vincent is not Tuckett, is Dighton Butler.
But okay, thank you.
Butler is the guy from St. Vincent.
Thank you.
I'm surprised that Butler and Tuckett, both former West Indies players who have been umpiring for quite a while, I am surprised that neither have ever been on that panel, because I've seen them around for several years and they've done a decent job. Gustard, you're correct about him. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes at all, so that's why you don't hear people cursing his name. Unlike my countryman Duguid, at times Duguid, we wanna kill Duguid, and he's our countryman. Some of the decisions, as well as Brathwaite, both of them, in recent years have made some howlers that I could think of right off the top of my head, but we'll leave that for another day.
Okay. Juna, what your views on the two umpires that we are hearing that is selected? As Basil corrected me there, that what's the name from this?
Dighton Butler.
Butler from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I think this is one of the why they are calling for transparency, because it is believed that the president influence the selection, and I think that's one of the reasons why they are calling for this transparency and how the selection process was made. Juna, do you have a problem with the vice president using his influence to enhance the career of his son? That's something that you would do too. That's something that I'll definitely do. Go ahead, Juna.
I can't definitely say that's what I will do on a matter of principle and by the codes which I conduct myself on. What has been happening in Cricket West Indies over the last few years, and definitely since Dr. Shallow took over, is that he uses influence to appoint as the director of cricket, Mile Bascom. He also uses influence to appoint Coach Darren Sammy as the head coach, and with a compromise of having Andre Coley there to, and he will be removed come next year. Um, what has been happening in cricket West Indies is that for any other administration in world cricket, you would have a conflict of interest, especially in India. You cannot, and here in Jamaica with the anti-corruption unit and so forth, you cannot have your family members in influence positions once you are the head of that organization. On the surface of it, it is definitely against protocol and against good sense. There's no way you can do it. Yes, you can have your family members being elevated, but not when you are the head of that administration, because on the face of it, it doesn't look good. So for one, the vice president, this was his objective of being the vice president. This is why when Guyana brought them to court, they wanted to stretch it out to keep him there because he wants to further his agenda. I and Mr. Bassarat are very good friends, but Mr. Bassarat is self-serving, and Mr. Bassarat is improving his own country and his own agenda. Look at 90% of international matches that comes to the Caribbean. They are played in Trinidad. Look at the local leagues that are happening. They are being played in Trinidad and Tobago. Then why do you feel that he would want to be vice president? Because he's benefiting from it. What should be distributed? It's equal rights to every country here in the Caribbean. Why do they pass many other islands and choose to take somebody from St. Vincent and the Grenadines? I'm not saying that the guy is not competent. I'm not saying that the guy doesn't deserve an opportunity. But because the man that is presiding over the affairs of cricket here in the Caribbean is from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, then he should not be appointed because it's a conflict of interest. This is the reason why you have code of ethics in administration to prevent corruption, to even prevent just the moment you think that this is corruption. This is why you operate by code of ethics. And so by my own belief and by my own conviction, I would never advance my family in an organization that I am the head or can tilt the balance of power, because just to look at it, you are indulging in corruption. This is what you call white collar criminals.
You're muted, Carlton. You're muted, Carlton.
Thank you. I was saying you were saying something, Basil.
No, I said you were muted when you started responding to Junior. You were muted.
Yes, I was saying I don't think it should go that far, June, as to refer to the vice president as criminal. I think probably it's a little too far, June. I think that's a little too strong. But as I said, though, June, and I see.
No, I was not calling the vice president a white collar criminal, but just the actions of these people make you think about white collar criminals.
Okay. I got you. I got you fully. I got you fully there. Carlton Ayman say, look, no one will ever not owns up to why the umpires remove. Jamaica always the first to go by CWI. Lots of bias going on, said Carlton Ayman. TV and cricket power play. Basil, you probably know TV and cricket power play out of Florida. He shows a lot of matches on the weekend. He streams a lot of matches.
Okay.
John P. Nicol, who's very interesting, and I know that Basil and Juna, anything I said, John P. Nicol, who is a legend of this community, I love him, but we cannot disagree. I think sometimes that John P. Nicol just wait. He's just waiting to hear what I'm saying to go against it. And so John, but he's a legend and I love him. And he said, Carlton, are you serious about your cronyism policy? Really? It is not cronyism. It is not cronyism, John P. Nicol. But let me put it this way, John P. Nicol. If you are in a position of influence and you can influence the promotion of your child, and I know Juna disagree with this and is free, is entitled to disagree, and I'm glad. I'm actually glad that he's disagreeing. I guess Basil agreed with me somewhat because Basil said that the young man is one of the better umpires around.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, yes, Basil.
What I don't agree with you is to push your child. It must be based on meritocracy. And just to make a quick point, I think the transparency part is very important because since the president has been the current president has come into office, a lot of eyebrows have been raised throughout the region as to various appointments to the West Indies Cricket Board, right? People coming out from the Windward Islands to very key board positions. So a lot of eyebrows have been raised. And I mean, even to the point, if you remember, the Barbados Prime Minister scolded him at the cricket conference for his participation in the interviewing of coaches, saying that is not his purview. He is not an expert on coaches. So why is he such an integral part of the interview process for coaches, right? So the transparency and so on of the Cricket West Indies still remains a problem to the public, and so you're always, because of that lack of transparency and accountability, you're always going to get the speculation about things like this situation that is regarding this umpire and so on. And then you see the son of the vice president is tipped to be one of the people, and people are going to say, well, rightfully so. What is the process? How did he grade out versus Gouchard, etc.? Let us hear that from the people who are in charge of appointing. And when we could hear that, then we will have the confidence to say, you know what? Good. You have a good process in place and we feel satisfied. This is not based on insularity, etc. Because we know that's rife in West Indies cricket.
Yes, Basil, and I see Milton Bertrand is saying no is small island time. I mean,
well,
he said that I don't know. You have to clarify that, Milton. You just can't. It's 3 of us here, and you have to say exactly what you mean by that that comment here. But John P. Nicol, as I told you, John P. Nicol is my nemesis. I welcome John P. Nicol's comment all the time. He's my nemesis. He said that, Carlton, I'm really disappointed in you. Juna Codlin is a man of principle, and his presentation today shows a man of sound intellect. Carlton, have you ever heard about a code of ethics? Yes, John P. Nicol. And I believe in a code of ethics. I have no issue. I have no issue. I believe on a whole, I'm a principled man. But whatsoever influence I have in life, if I can use that influence to enhance my children or my friends, once I believe that it is in the realm of decency, I am going to do it. I'm definitely going to do it. And so that's just my position. So I understand your point, but that's just my position, Nicol. Now, gentlemen, on to the other story. On Tuesday night, as I said at the beginning, I believe that it was coincidental that the light went. That was my initial thought process. Is that still my thought process? I will let you know at the end. But there have been political statements on the issue. Players have come out. Even I saw a very expletively laden comment from Andre Russell and the general public at large. Last night there was a lot of banter about it during the live watch along. I got the impression that most of it was not serious, but some of it do seem serious. Let's start with you, Basil. As a Guyanese, what are your views on what happened Tuesday night?
Uh, a lot of people from Guyana, particularly the ones who live overseas, that are in my circles, viewed it as an embarrassment to the nation that in such an important game match with the president on in the stands, that such a fiasco could happen with the lighting, all the lights going out, right? It wasn't a blackout in the sense, there was a blackout in the area, because the stadium has its own independent generator system, right? And I was told that this issue happened a couple times in recent times. Most recent, I think, when the Guyana team was in training just prior to the CPL starting. They were going to train under the lights, and the lights went out. So the question I have is, one, again, this is where transparency and accountability come into play, because there was a lot of politics. Because things in Guyana, everything is political in Guyana. So you had the critics of the government making statements, and then the sports minister responding, and some of the acolytes of the ruling party in government backing up the minister of sport. But more than anything else, the excuses they were making, I didn't want to hear that. What I want to hear is, one, if the situation that caused the outages in the recent past, were they properly addressed? That's one. And two, was the reason for this outage similar or the same reason for the previous outages in the recent past? Those are the two most important questions, in my view, that have to be answered, because then we would have a situation of accountability and transparency, which is something in the Caribbean as a whole, is something that is very rarely seen. So much less for us to see it in our cricket, right? The cricket is just a reflection of the societies throughout the region, right? And those are the two areas I want to hear from the people who run the stadium, the government with their point, for them to come out in the press and express to us what was the reason this outage occurred, and was it similar to the recent outages. So that would say to us, wait a minute, y'all did a patchwork probably to patch up, and this was an accident waiting to happen in a most important match. And I feel for the players, because to be honest, I fell asleep, right? Because I said this game is not going to play. When I woke up next morning, I saw that Barbados won the game in a 5-over match. And then reading the circumstances, I was disappointed, because I would just want to point out, in baseball here in the United States, if you have an outage, lights or something stop play, the game is resumed from where the game stopped. It's not like it was rain or something that you have no control of that stopped the game. And that's something also for CPL to answer in their playing conditions. Do they account for such kind of things? Because this is not the rain where you have no control, right? In my view, this game, because I heard what the CPL said, the match referee, they went along with, they use this in the same way when you have an outage for, a stoppage for rain. But this is not rain. So in my view, it should have restarted. They could have played the game before the game last night because they had enough time. Play during the day and start from 19.1 overs and then let Barbados chase the whatever score Trinidad would have made. And that to me would have been fair for all parties involved.
Thank you very much, Basil. Now, but the other point that you have to look at, though, and I take your point and I understand, and you made some very good points, and I'm coming to you now, Juna Codlin. I'm just going to briefly go through the timeline. I will not read everything. Mm-hmm. So the match stopped at 8:58, 20:58. So that's 2 minutes to 9 that the match was stopped. And you can read it for yourself, and at that time, the Trinidad Night Riders had faced 19.1 overs. While the Barbados Royals were willing to continue, the Trinidad Night Riders, as was their right, was not willing to continue. That statement is very crucial, Barbados Royals were willing to continue, but Trinidad Night Riders, this is a statement from CPL, by the way. This is a statement from the Caribbean Premier League. So Barbados Royals were willing to continue, while the Trinidadians were not willing to continue. This is what is baffling to me here, gentlemen, and to all of you watching. And I really appreciate it. Please slash a like on the video. Click on that subscribe button. Initially, a cutoff time of 22:52. That means 10:52, 8 minutes to 11 Guyanese time for the start of a minimum 5 overs innings. That was initially the cutoff time.
Yes.
This was subsequently revised to 23:01 to 11:01. So 9 minutes was added to account for the time allowed for the interval between innings. Well, my understanding is that it is 10 minutes. That is that interval. So why 9? And why wasn't that time calculated up front? I think that time is generally calculated up front. And for my understanding, Basil, is that all of these times, it is not calculated at the venue there and then, but it's something that is set, and we all know how we react and what time is allowed, because I just don't understand that part.
Yeah,
and so
the
other thing now is that the light came on at 22:51. That means if that additional time was not added, Trinidad Night Riders would have won the match if that additional 9 minutes was not added, because then they would not have the 10 minutes to notify the team and allow them to prepare. So here's what CPL is saying. The ICC approved DLS calculator, which is utilized at the innings break of every CPL game, and which is the universally accepted method used to determine revised argument. We agree with all of that. And they went on to say Ryan King, CWI senior match referee, who was in charge of the playing team on the night. So they're saying that Ryan King was in charge, and he was a Guyanese. Basil, I know you want to come in, but let's hear what Juna Codlin has to say. Juna, go ahead, please.
Yes. It's questionable what is happening in our game and in our cricket. But it suffices to say that when I look at the statement from the power service, saying that they are not going to take responsibility for this, and the government also said they are not going to take responsibility, then that opens yet again another can of worm, because the thing is that if the independent power service is not taking responsibility and the government is not taking responsibility, then who should that responsibility fall on? Because as Mr. Butcher Jr. would have alluded to earlier, is that it is not a matter that throughout the entire vicinity in and around the stadium lost power, but just the stadium lost power. Then Trinidad and Tobago and the Night Riders have every reason to feel betrayed and to feel undone by this injustice that happens to them there at the national stadium, because this is not going to be polished off by a mere inaccurate and not thought of statement by CPL. The statement alone by CPL creates another avenue of question again. Because how can a power being lost from a stadium for almost 2 hours, and just when the game is about to say, this game can't go on any longer, then the light return. It leaves question, and questions should be answered. The reaction of the players are very understandable as well, the frustration that they are feeling, but the responsibility, the investigation should start at the Guyana Power um, company. It should start with those at the stadium. It should start with even those that are responsible to make sure electricity is maintained at the stadium in and when games are playing. I know Mr. Butcher said that similar things like these happen when the Guyana team was training as well. And if that is true, then they should have made sure that this doesn't happen. The CPL is being shown to millions of people in and around the game. The government should take this very seriously as well, because it's going to damper the brand that the Guyana is now trying to market around the world. Because for a game like this that is being shown to millions of people, and what makes it even more interesting is the battle between Guyana and Trinidad, the long time rivalry between these two. So if it had happened in Trinidad, then there would be a lot of questions as well. And it happens in Guyana, so you will find a lot of questions. If it happens in Jamaica or in any other island, then you don't find so much conversations being had. But because it happens, and it happens with Trinidad and Tobago, then you're going to find all type of question. But at the moment, these questions and the sympathy should be tilted to Trinidad and Tobago, because in clearly looking at everything that happens, they are undone by this injustice. How can, I want to ask the CPL, how can you as a institution here in Caribbean cricket allow such injustice to happen without your public relations and media thinking about a proper notice in that release that you just showed to your viewers? Nothing was mentioned about an investigation. Nothing was mentioned about holding anybody accountable. You can't have this thing happening in our cricket without you having an investigation. The statement that they released, leave it done. Trinidad and Tobago lost the game. They are out, they are done. This is not how it should go. You should have an investigation, because it looked fishy, and it is fishy, and it is something that even the Guyana government should look deeply into, because it doesn't look good on them. Because for cricket to survive in Guyana, which I love Guyana, for the cricket to survive there, they need to have proper facilities that can stand up to true scrutiny, meaning their stadium must not only look beautiful, but the electricity should be reliable.
Thank you very much, Juna. Well said. That was a mouthful. Basil, I know you have some point to make, but I want to throw another spanner in the wheels because I've been getting calls and persons have been suggesting this to me, and I have no evidence whatsoever, Basil, that this actually happened. But more than one person have said it, that when the Guyana Amazon Warriors team was training and the light went out, it was a test run by the Venezuelans with their cyber attack. So what actually happened Tuesday night was done by the Venezuelan. It was a cyber attack by the Venezuelan to embarrass Guyana. I have no evidence of this. I'm just saying that this is what persons are alleging. This is how wide this conspiracy have spread, Basil. That's the nature of it. It has spread all the way. I have no evidence of that, but persons are saying it. Basil, you had a point to make.
That Venezuelan thing reminds me of here in the United States. Oh, they always blame the Russia. It's the Russian bots, the Russians. Everything is Russia. So in Guyana, we have the Venezuelan phobia. I guess as we have here in the United States, Russian phobia. But yeah, the thing about the 10:51, the lights came on at 10:51 is again that make your eyebrows go up. 1 minute before the game would be called, and then next thing you hear, the time has been extended to 23, whatever the case may be. Because when the last time I watched the game, I remember Simon Dool saying the cutoff time is 10:52. That was what was transmitted to us as fans, right? The other thing too is it seemed like it was almost ad hoc in how they went about determining the starting time of the game and so on, because all of that should have been calculated and a long time ago, not with 1 minute 1 minute before the quote unquote cutoff time, that now it has been determined that you're going extended. I hope that is not how it happened, that this was transmitted to the teams prior to that. But on the other hand, I don't think it's correct for them to say, well, Barbados said they would have played in with the two towers, and Trinidad said no, right? The umpires determined it was unsafe. It's the umpires that control, regardless what any one of the teams want to do. The umpires are the one that determine.
Basil, that last line down the bottom there, could you read it for me, please?
While the Barbados Royals are willing to continue, Trinbago Knight Riders, as was their right, did not want to carry on playing in conditions which the umpires decided were unsafe. Right.
Yes.
And I agree with that. The umpires determined it's unsafe, so it shouldn't even go beyond that, right? Because now we're making it like a corrigo game, right? That we feel you could play. It's like you playing a match, and one side said no, the light is good. The other side said no, I can't see the ball, and you want to make a decision as if you're gonna play based on if one and the other. No, the umpires, this is cricket of a high level. Umpires control the playing safety and etc. And they determined it wasn't safe for players to play. And playing cricket at night is very tricky. And to have one lighting missing, it's already tricky with all the lights, much as you lose one.
So Niall Alexander is saying, gentlemen, it is very suspicious the lights came on 2 minutes before cutoff time. But I don't agree with the people online that this was sabotage, especially since both teams had the option to complete the match. Basil, but gentlemen, Trinidad and Knight Riders could still have won the match. They could have still limited Barbados to less than 60 in the 5 overs.
That's true. I just feel that they need to have in the playing conditions a different protocol for light outages because it's not rain, right? You control. This is a controllable situation, and that's
Yeah,
not right to because when you get 5 overs to make 60 runs, I mean it's a tall order. I mean 30 balls, 60 runs, but it's more to me. It's more favored in the batting team because you could go hell bent, right?
yeah.
And your best bowlers can't bowl more than 1 over.
But
So all of
yeah,
those.
they allow one bowler to bowl 2 overs. I think Narayan bowled 2 overs.
Okay, my
Yes.
bad.
Juna, Lucian Fleming is saying, good morning to you, Lucian. We appreciate you being here. That game should have continued the next day. Basil have expressed that citing a baseball example.
Absolutely.
What is your view, Juna?
Absolutely. It should have continued the next morning because you can't say your previous person in the comment alluded to both of them had the opportunity to finish the game, but you have to have listen, this is cricket, international cricket. It's not between two countries, but it is international cricket because the league, the CPL, is a sanctioned ICC tournament. So therefore, it is governed by the rules of the ICC, and maybe somebody should take this up at the highest level. Um, the umpires have the ultimate say within a game. So therefore, Pollard or Powell can't come and say that they want to play. The umpire has to have that final say and the ultimate say in any game, whether international or here at the CPL. The game should have what the CPL should do is learn from this experience and allow for games. We here in Jamaica at Sabina Park saw games went well into 1 o'clock in the night. If you would remember with um, when Chris Gale was playing CPL. If they want and another point to look on is that if you have the game to finish at 10:52, then nothing should make, because when the game was to be finished at 10:52, remember for each of these games an extra hour is allowed. So therefore it is the allowed hour of 10:52 that you are to complete the game. So once you exceed 10:52, then no effort at all should be made to continue that game, and that game should rightfully be awarded to the Trinidad Knight Riders because of CPL own rules that they have. However, if you want to be fair to all of the teams, then you should have the game continue the next morning, beginning at 10 or at 9 from 19.1 over. In fairness, you're gonna say now, CPL is going to respond to me and say that with the broadcasters they don't have those arrangements, so it would not be economically viable. But therefore, when you come to talk with broadcasters, you and broadcasters come to an agreement for an allowed time on here, and in saying that, that allowed time on here cut off at 10:52. So therefore, nothing that the CPL says would defeat making that game to go on in the morning. It is value for money. While the CPL is going to say to the broadcasters, we did not have any control over the light being cut off for 2 hours. We don't know what happened. We will initiate an investigation, and based on those investigation, then when the money is being distributed, because the broadcasters pay CPL to distribute the matches, they come to an agreement, and that's how the money is shared up. What happened the other night was injustice to Trinidad and Tobago because it was not handled properly by the governing body, which is CPL, and it was not handled properly by those that were in charge of the playing conditions, meaning the umpires. And that's
Thank
the
you.
reason, right? And that's the reason why you need honest people in positions of influence to make sure that they put people there that is of the highest credibility and not serving their own interest or a group interest, and they serve the interest of cricket. What happened the other night was complete sabotage. I agree with those online in saying it was sabotage in some way, form, or fashion, because the statements that are being made by the governing body are leaving a lot of rooms for us to ask questions. They are not quieting down the sabotage.
Thank you, Juna. Thank you. Thank you, Juna. Just gonna take some comment here. I know, Juna, but we are going for we have to end the broadcast at a hour, and we have the West Indies team to pick. Um, Palm Beach, welcome and glad to have you here. Palm Beach Hurricane Cricket. I do not believe it was a conspiracy. Perhaps unfortunate, but certainly not a conspiracy. That's generally my opinion to Palm Beach. But what I think is that, as Juna Codlin is saying, that it probably didn't handle properly. Basil, I'm coming to you because there's something that going through my mind with the time. I say the fact that this incident was not an act of God, I believe the organizers should have shown flexibility and extend the playing time to complete the full game. And I want to come there. I'm just going to say, Niall Alexander is saying TKR has the best bowling attack. All they needed was 2 good overs from Narayan, plus they bowl and no ball. Mikel is saying, correct, the umpires and CPL management did not handle the matter properly. John P. Nicol is saying, Juna, the rules would not allow a night game to continue during the daytime since the playing conditions would not be the same. I'm not quite sure about that, John P. Nichols, because cricket is such a game where playing conditions change, sometimes minutes by minutes, Basil.
I mean, we have day and night
Test match
fixtures and T20 fixtures. So John Nicol is off the beaten path with that opinion.
Okay. What I want to come to, gentlemen, and look at me. Listen me carefully because it's going through my head. CPL said that the original cutoff time was 10:52. That is 3 hours and 52 minutes after the match started. Because the match started at 7 o'clock Guyanese time. 15 overs, 1 hour, then another 4 overs for 16 minutes. No, then another 5 overs for 20 minutes. So it's supposed to take the teams 1 hour and 20 minutes to bowl their 20 overs plus additional time for drinks break and so on. So that is probably another 20 minutes. Am I right here, Basil?
Yeah, you're right.
So that is about 1 hour and 40 minutes. Plus another 1 hour and 40 minutes for the next team. So that will be 3 hours and 20 minutes. But from 7 to 10:52, it's 3 hours and 52 minutes. So if it is 3 hours and 20 minutes, if you had an hour to that.
I didn't also the changing over of the team. So it make it 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. So that's why I said 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, 3.5 hours. You're right.
Yeah,
so 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours, yeah.
So 10:30 would be 3.5 hours. So why was the cutoff time at 10:52? Shouldn't be the cutoff time at 11:30. I am just asking these questions, just thinking about it now. And as Mr. Codlin said, that probably we need to hear more from CPL. Basil.
Yeah, because the game, I mean, this is a contradiction because they said, the match referee says they have an extra hour, right? And that extra hour would take it past 10:52, right? It would take it to 11:30, as you correctly said, because that should be the cutoff time. If you're adding on an extra hour, the cutoff time to say, if you don't make the game in this time, we can't play anymore, right?
If fair enough.
So you can't play a 5-over game. So those are questions that we the public would like to understand with clear how they came up with 10:52, for example.
I don't. Yes, those are questions that need to be answered, and we are not here bashing anyone. We are just analyzing the thing and trying to get answers, and would love some clarity from CPL. Colin Goodridge is saying, Mr. Brown, good morning. Rules. It should be rules are rules. It's rules is plural, so it should be her. It should not be his. So Colin Goodrich says rules is rules, but which is grammatically incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
The rules there is, and it shouldn't be there. There it should be THERE. So so I'm just saying that, Colin Goodrich, this conversation is above your head right now. This is deeper than you. So don't get involved if you cannot measure up, right? So don't do that, Colin Goodrich. Envoy 0.5 odd point from South Africa is saying, listen, as long as the team with the South Africans on one, I won't complain. So that's a light moment here. But gentlemen, before I go to the playing 11, and here is Gary. What's his name? This is the leader of the. So the politicians have got involved here. I can't read everything that he said. That I think is. Pardon me.
I saw this in social media in the chat this morning. I read this.
Yeah. So Gary Griffin, who is the leader of the National Transformation Alliance in Trinidad. So the politicians have got involved. I can't read everything, but it said. Yeah. But I've highlighted some parts that I will read, and then I will ask Juna to respond. I'll ask you that your response be short to you too, Basil, because we need to get out of here soon before the stream cut off. The recent incidents in Guyana, where the 2024 CPL playoffs and finals are being held, whether due to poor management or organization, are indeed unfortunate. You would agree with that, Basil?
About
this highlighted part there, because I'm not reading everything, but Griffith is saying the recent incident in Guyana.
I mean, let's say this. There may be elements of that, but without us getting all the details, as I pointed out earlier, were for example, the reasons why the lights got cut off, was it the same reasons as when it cut off previously, right? Then we would have to say that was poor management, for example, on that case. Yeah.
Juna, here's Mr. Griffith saying, unfortunately, what has been observed in Guyana, starting with a disturbing security breach. I was not aware of that. That resulted in a spectator being attacked and kicked in the head whilst on the ground for several minutes without an immediate law enforcement response, is something that must never be seen in Caribbean again, whether at the CPL or any major sporting event. Were you aware of a security breach, Juna Codlin?
We were not aware, and this should be taken up by the Guyana government.
Well, let me just tell you,
the
video. Let me tell you about that incident. The video was circulating because, today every time something happened, people pull out the cameras, and it was posted on social media. And what was interesting, one of the chief person involved in beating up the fella is a former policeman, and he has been arrested for his assault on that young man. But I agree with what was said there. They need to have more security, because at one point you thought maybe the guy was dead because he was lying on the ground, not moving, and they're still kicking him. And what was more disturbing, it took other fans had to come and get involved, you know. But many of them were just standing around with the cameras filming while they were beating up the guy.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate. But this letter, which which is said came from Mr. Griffiths. It is said that this letter came from Mr. Griffiths. In part, he said, coincidentally or not, this occurred just prior to the completion of the TKR innings. Coincidentally or not, Powers was restored mere minutes, well, it was a minute, before the game was about to be abandoned, allowing for Barbados Royals to play the minimum 5 overs required, which destroyed the spirit of the game. Many have since questioned what went wrong, and this was not due to weather or any uncontrollable circumstances, but rather bad management and poor logistics. Jonah, if this letter that is purported to come from Gary Griffiths, who is a political leader in Trinidad, is he going too far in another country's affair?
Absolutely. Because you can't draw conclusions without an investigation, and CPL should initiate, along with the Guyana government, and they should initiate an investigation, because without having an investigation, these allegations are disturbing, and they are pouring a bad water on the oil-rich Guyana. There should be an investigation, and it should go at the highest level. These statements by Mr. Griffiths are rather unfounded, and they are not in, and it just confirm what I was saying earlier about the relations with them and Guyana.
Basil, same question to you. Is this diplomacy? This never happened in Trinidad, you know. I know it's political, but I think Griffiths is trying to come across like said, if I was in government, Guyana would not have this tournament in the first place. It would have been held in Trinidad because CPL did approach us, the Guyana government, but because I was not in government, Guyana is allowed to make over 100 millions per year from sports tourism. That's one of the things that is in the letter, you know. So, Basil, analyze what is going through Griffith mind for me.
I think one, Griffith is pouncing on a situation that occurred, that one caused his team, that he feel that cost his team a chance to get to the finals, and two, he is jumping on this situation to make a case for CPL going to Trinidad because Guyana is getting whatever benefits from CPL. But the point is, Guyana made a bid that CPL could not refuse. That was better than what you call it, Trinidad. And I don't think that number that he is talking about, 100 million US annually, that is outrageous. They're not making that much money from this thing. They're making, they're doing well, but 100 million US, no, it's not that much. And you know, somebody made a very interesting statement regarding with this discussion of this letter, that Mr. Griffith should remember Trinidad has probably some of the worst dew in the region when you play the games at night. The ball becomes almost like a soap, trying to grab a piece of soap and bowl. If you notice, every time you play night cricket in Trinidad, that's a problem. And so I think that would be a deterrent to want to play this tournament, the playoffs, etc. in Trinidad, because of that factor. Maybe when you could invent a ball that don't absorb the moisture from the dew, then we have something talking, because then it takes away from the quality of the match with all the excess dew in the ball.
Yeah, thank you, Basil. Athena is saying CPL got a mind of its own. Voicing one complaint is like howling at the moon. And Mikel is saying, Gary Griffith, shake my head. I don't know the gentleman. I'm just reading the thing, but I guess those from Trinidad would have known him. He a political leader of party of his own party. Yes. Oh, Mikel is saying yes. Athena
The
is
one
saying,
man part.
Gary, please. And Mikel is saying, Guyana made the bid. Yes. Gentlemen, last night in my live watch along, I made the point that although West Indies women is going to play a World Cup match tomorrow morning, there's no build up from Cricket West Indies. The wider West Indies community do not hear anything about this Women World Cup match. I think probably I am the only channel that is champion the Women World Cup for the West Indies. I don't hear it anywhere else. And I am not here, like exalting myself, but I don't know if you hear it anywhere else, Basil. I don't know if you hear it anywhere else, Juna. But last night I said that there's no build-up. We are not hearing anything from Cricket West Indies. Surprise, surprise. This morning, there were 15 messages from Cricket West Indies in my inbox. 15 from my WhatsApp inbox. 15 with all sort of details about the World Cup. And I'm saying, why took them so long? Why took me last night to make this call? However, that being said, gentlemen, the World Cup is tomorrow. West Indies play their first match tomorrow morning. There's one match already. Bangladesh beat Scotland. And there's another match that is going on right now. But this is the West Indies World Cup squad, gentlemen. That was the squad that was selected for the World Cup. I agree, Basil, and I keep on saying it. I support these girls. But I still cannot understand why Fafana Millington was not called to the camp. I have said it many times. She's the very best bowler in the West Indies. Nonetheless, we are going to support these girls. So that is the squad. This is the playing 11 that I selected for tomorrow's morning match, Basil and Juna. What are your thoughts on a playing 11 for tomorrow? It doesn't have to be my playing 11. Let me go back to the squad. You can go first, Basil. This is a 15. This is a 15. Who would be your playing 11? Had you selected a playing 11 already, Basil? Or
Yeah. I had Matthews, Campbell, Allen, Connell, Dottin, Fletcher, Henry, Joseph, Ramrock, Taylor, and I would pick. I would have to pick James because it would be between James and Monisar. Would be the two. So I would pick James because she's a way better fielder than Monisar.
Okay, so I leave out Connell. So who do you leave out of your 11?
Nation.
Or you leave out Shady Nation to Connell?
Yeah.
I thought about that, Basil, and I'm saying that there are so many bowlers that are there already, and Nation may just come good. And the batting is already weak.
Look, you got Matthews, Campbell, Dottin, Taylor, Henry. There's your top 6.
Yes.
Right? Then you have Allen and Fletcher who could handle themselves with the bat. So that make it 8.
And Kiana Joseph.
And Kiana Joseph, sorry. So that make it 8.
Right.
There's no need for Nation. I'd rather have another bowling option.
Okay, all right.
That's the reason why I wouldn't pick Nation. Yeah.
Okay. Juna, do you have a playing 11 in your head, or women's cricket is not something that you followed a lot?
I don't have a playing 11 per se, but just a little comments on the women game. It is being disregarded traditionally, and this administration, the shallow administration, came out yesterday and offered multi-year contract to some of these players, which is understandable. And so a little more attention is now being paid to the women's game. But looking back at women's cricket here in the region, it is one that is not so much. Women's sport in the Caribbean is not a big thing at all, because even football is not big, and it took Bob Marley's that to make people talk about Jamaica football as well. So we are seeing that women's sport here in the region is not traditionally something that is being cared about by administration or the fans to say. And so this is the reason why maybe Cricket West Indies took so long in covering the in sending out information for the women's game. And as well, the viewers, it everything that is done now is guided by viewership, and there's not a lot of viewership in this part of the world where women's sport is concerned. So that is the reason why you have less coverage of the women's game.
Okay, but Basil, when earlier this year when we heard that Dottin was going to rejoin the West Indies team, I think the entire Caribbean rejoiced and was happy that she has been rejoined to the team, and we're glad. We are very glad. And so there was an interview with Dottin, and just some of the things that she said in the interview when asked about what had happened, and she said, "The past is the past. It's about moving forward. Things are on the right path. Players are comfortable and can speak up. The team atmosphere is far better, is a lot better." Basil, what's your reaction to that comment?
Oh well, I mean, Dottin like to talk in riddles. That's what she's good for, talking in riddles and
Does this second slide clear up anything for you? Basically, because she moved to Canada to live, Scarborough in Canada. She's now living in Canada. Basically, because of my sexuality, for not being judged as well as I can be more open and comfortable in a country where they embrace and accept it. So what was really going on, Basil? Why that? What you read? How you interpret that comment?
Well, well. She is a legend in Barbados that she's not able to be herself because she's gay, right?
Right.
Whereas in Canada, she is, which is obviously is a different thing, like as here in the United States, right? But I don't see what that has to do with her playing cricket for the West Indies team.
Yes. And Juna, any reaction to a short reaction to that in comment?
I know that you said short, and I'll be short as I possibly can. Without explaining firstly why you leave the team, because when you talk about sexuality, it narrows down to the environment which you are in, and we all know that 99%.
Be careful now, Juna.
No, we all know that 99% of what is happening within women's cricket here in the region, they are loving each other. We know that. But not every women are into these barbaric lifestyle, and you can't impose yourself.
No, be careful, Juna. Be careful. Mind you get us in trouble, Juna.
No.
We on YouTube.
Yes, we are on YouTube, Juna.
I know.
Be careful, Juna. Just a minute, Juna.
No, but these are
just a minute, Juna, please. Juna, I need to say something here, Juna. Before you go on, I will allow you to go on, but I need to say those opinions expressed by Juna Codlin are not those of the Cricket Forum. Please continue, Juna.
All right. I'm saying that these barbaric lifestyles are not to be imposed on everybody. So for example, I cannot have a preference for something and force it down another man's throat. It should not be like that. It should be the two party coming to a mutual agreement. With that being said, she walking out of the West Indies team and being allowed to walk back in is a continuation of the shallow administration giving ultimate power to the players, and that degrades administration and principle. Because what is happening within the women's game is that because of a World Cup and the hype of the World Cup and the money that is being marketed for the World Cup, she say, you know what, I'm not making a lot of money out there, because she went to other leagues and have problems there as well. So because of the money that is attached to, it's just like Russell. Russell only want to play for West Indies when they are leading up to World Cup series, leading up to World Cup. So this is what Deandra Dottin is trying to do, play for West Indies when it is convenient for her. And that is telling me that if this is the way that Shallow is going to make these people, our cricket will never be better. The younger players not going to get to rub shoulders with these players and gather enough experience. So sooner than later, our women's team will not be the women team that it is today, because the experience are not there. The players are not getting to rub shoulders with people that are better than them. And this is what Cricket West Indies is allowing to happen.
Basil,
Carlton,
I'm coming to you, Basil.
I want you to say this thing where this statement. What was the question that why she answered this? What was the question before that? Because it's unfair to make a comment without context.
It's okay. Yes, and the point I was going to make, is that basically, when she said basically because of my sexuality, I don't think it necessarily means that she's a gay. It could be that other persons around her are gay and she's not in that. She probably be straight. While it could be true that she's gay. So I don't take basically my sexuality to means that she's gay. It could well be,
and
but
that's
it could
true.
be that she's straight and others are gay.
Yeah, and that's true.
No. I mean,
and that's true,
Carlton,
but you don't embrace.
Carlton.
Yes.
No. It's easy to tell that she's gay because she said, for not being judged as well as I can be more open
And based on the
country where they embrace and accept it. So it can't be straight.
Oh, okay, yeah. Thank you. But no, all right. So
but my whole thing is, what was the question to her that she brought that up? Was it the question was asked, why are you not living in Barbados anymore, for example? And that's probably why she probably said that.
Yeah, it was all about her leaving the West Indies team, and as she said, she said the past is the past. It's about moving forward.
But Mr. Brown, the only change that is made to the West Indies team since she leave is the head coach remove. That's the only change. So
several head coaches though, Juna.
What I'm saying.
Only one?
Yeah, but what I'm saying
Coach
is that
Walsh was the head coach when
right. The rest remain the same. So I am saying no. Was she and Courtney Walsh not seeing eye to eye? Because there's nothing changed about that environment other than Walsh not being the coach anymore.
Okay, thank you. I just want to run through some comment and I'm on the screen there Dottin's numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So here is Envoy saying that Hayley Matthews and Laura Woodward performances will be key for their team. I don't think anybody disagree with that. This batting will struggle if Stephanie Taylor and Matthews and Dottin doesn't make runs.
No, Carlton.
Yes.
What is his position with Stephanie Taylor? She ain't playing none of these warm-up matches.
She hasn't played any of these warm-up matches, and I made a comment a few days ago that towards the back end of the CPL, of the double CPL,
Yeah,
she
they
was
said she
not
was
playing
sick.
for the Warriors either.
She was sick. They said she was sick.
Yes, so is it that she's still sick? I don't know, but you are right. She has not played any of the 2 warm-up matches. So
That is one of the things that's one of the things the West Indies board should have pour into your WhatsApp message update on Taylor.
there's an interview from the head coach.
I listened to it. He said nothing about Taylor.
Okay, well, I've not listened to it. I wanted to play it here, but I've not listened to it, so I was not able to edit it because of the time. You know, Mikel is saying batting has to improve. Can't depend on Hayley, Dottin, and Taylor, etc. The rest has to contribute. He's definitely right, gentlemen. Yeah. Dottin is allowed to walk back in cause she's needed in the engine room. Her batting is great. Yeah, as I said, I think every West Indian supporters are majority because it's never every. You know, 85% of West Indian supporters are happy to see Dottin back into the squad. Gentlemen, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Dottin is a tremendous player, and that was a big hole in the team because it was now left to Matthews and Taylor, and Taylor's fitness has been iffy in the last couple of years. So it was like Matthews got to be carrying all the load. So now Matthews have other people, capable people to carry the load.
Okay. Palm Beach Hurricanes Cricket is saying, Deandra Dottin also mentioned the environment that the new coach has created is better. Perhaps she had an issue with Cuddy, and that was what Juna was pointing out. Thank you, Palm Beach. You know, Palm Beach. So it's you think Milton, let me say this. Let me say this. Whenever I see these comments, there are many ways I can react to them. But there are 2 Jamaicans here and there's a Guyanese. And I know that Basil, I know that Basil is not, it's not prejudicial in any way. But let me say this. This is something that I always say. I want to say this to you, Milton Bertram. Whenever you decide to say things like these, this man has a problem with small island people. I could blast you, but I'm taking the high ground. Before you make a statement like that, ask yourself how many of the people from your island and the small island as you are referring to them. I don't refer to them as small island, but you are referring to them as small island. So how many children from those islands and your island that is presently in Jamaica, going to Jamaican school, benefiting from Jamaican taxpayers' money, benefiting from the expertise of our Jamaican people. So before you go ahead and say that we don't like small island people, answer that question. You have been making numerous comments like these ever since the program started this morning. I ignore them, but then it seems like you are taking it to another level. I am going to take the high ground. I'm not going to quarrel with you, but I'm going to ask you, answer that question. And if we never liked them, why would they be here? Is there one person from Jamaica in your country, in your high school, in a high school in your country? So be careful. Even what's her name, Basil? Julian Alfred?
Julian Alfred.
Julian Alfred. She went to school in Jamaica.
Mhm.
She got a scholarship to go to university in the USA because of the effort of Jamaican administrators. But you know, Bertram, Milton, don't waste time with you, you know.
Sir Carlton, can I
Yes.
say something in
Yeah,
regards?
yes, go ahead, Basil.
You got me off screen. Let me just say this. I, by living in the New York area for all these years, I have interacted with many of the quote unquote people that are referred to as small island people. And I will tell you this because we get into many debates when you're in the park about how they get raw deal and so on and so forth. And I'll tell you, 99.9% of the time, I've destroyed all of their arguments when we bring up the facts and figures. Because when they would produce, they would call the names of the players who they say get raw deal. My first question to them is, name me a player that played in the same time they should have played in front of. Were their performances better than? And never, to date, they have never been able to come up with one.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So that is a that is a that is something, a mythology that based on a certain time per se in West Indies cricket history, where the leewards and the windwards were not participating in the regional cricket. They were excluded. Nobody's going to argue with that. But from the time they have been included, they're hard pressed to come up with those arguments. And every time they come up with them, I destroy them with the stats.
yeah.
Every time.
But this
So
person, you know,
when this guy says that, firstly, he doesn't know you. And again, and you know what I usually call that? I tell them to the face. That is an insecurity on your part. That you are deflecting your insecurity to other people from the region with that nonsense.
and that is why, Basil, I I don't want to rush him because
Mm.
he probably have made about 30 posts since morning. You not have seen them, but
Mhm.
he has made them, and he's just saying these degradatory things, degrading things, and just going on and just, you know, and I keep on ignoring them, and I still gonna stay above his fray.
Of course, I agree.
I'm not going to rush him, but I'm just asking him to answer that question. How many students from
Mhm.
these islands, which you call small islands, I am not calling them that. You are
Mhm.
calling them that. They
Correct.
are islands, own government, own people, independent islands. So the point Basil is making, maybe that's why you think you are small.
Correct. Call
However,
a small
I
island.
asked you the question, how many students from these islands are benefiting from the expertise of Jamaican teachers and coaches? How many of them are in our schools benefiting from Jamaican taxpayers' money? Don't do those things. They are uncalled for. And as Basil said, raise the level. We look forward to hear from you again, Milton, but let's raise it to another level. Basil, your final comment, as time is really going.
Yeah, I just want to wish the West Indies team all the best in their match tomorrow morning. I have reservations about some of the inclusions in the team, and we will see how how those picks by the new coach will come to the fore. You know, there were some credible performances in the warm up matches, but they are warm up matches. They don't have the same intensity as the actual when the bell ring, right? I heard the coach saying that in the commentary about Kiana Joseph in the second match there against Australia. West Indies was 6-1 without loss, and she's a dangerous player and going up against good bowlers in terms of Australia. But I would caution the coach, if you note, when players never see certain players, the first time out they get away. But now they got the video and so on Joseph, and the Australians would have not really seen Joseph before, right? So players, teams now got more video on her, and now we'll see how she does against the South Africans tomorrow.
Yes, thank you very much, Basil. I do wish the team also the best. I will be bringing a live watch along. I'll be watching the match. Those of you who are in the USA and Canada may watch it on Willow Sport. Those of you in the Caribbean, it's an ESPN Caribbean. So the match will be broadcast on those stations. You know. Jamor Small is saying, look, we need to stop separating ourselves. All of the islands in the West Indies, small and large, make up the team. Mm-hmm. Exactly, Jamor Small. That's the point that we are. We are making. And
my position, and this is a historical fact. The Caribbean we are one nation separated by water.
Yes, and when Milton come here and talk about small islands, you know, because I for one, I know that this community is built on a collectiveness. I have never one who pushed a Jamaican player ahead of any other player, because I really built this community on collectiveness, and I stayed biased. I stay unbiased. Mm-hmm. So I am biased towards my unbiasedness, you know. Mm-hmm. So we don't want persons to come here and try to descend the community down to a level. We are gonna keep the high ground, and if one apple in the basket is spoiled, we have to get rid of that apple. Correct. And we have to get rid of all the apples around that one too.
It will spoil the rest of the apples.
Yes, definitely. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We look forward to see you tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. for the West Indies versus South Africa. Thank you very much, Basil. Have a great day.
You too.